Oh, yes. This is the Hardcore Marketing Show. I'm Casey Cheshire, your host for this epic journey. And today's show, sponsored by Cheshire Impact, on a mission to help people maximize their use of Pardot and Salesforce. CheshireImpact.com. Bam. Hey, everyone. Before we get started with the show, I'm excited to announce two things. First is that my book, Marketing Automation Unleashed, is now live on Amazon. So go get it. The second thing is we have a new sponsor, Qualified.com. I'm going to tell you about them in the next couple seconds here, and also how you can get a free copy of my book thanks to them. So who are these people? Well, Qualified is the #1 live chat and chatbot platform for Salesforce and Pardot. Sales reps can have real-time, personalized conversations with who? Your hottest website visitors. So I want you to know, I don't just partner with anyone. I genuinely love these guys. And the platform, we use it at my company. Our sales team loves it. We've closed a lot of deals based on it, had a lot of great conversations with prospects too. So, a lot of marketing these days is what? Hurry up and wait, right? Fill out this form. And then if we pass you over to sales, maybe you'll swap 6 emails with them to find a good time to talk. But what if a prospect is doing research right now and they would chat now? Why not give them the opportunity? So the best part is your company actually decides what leads are worth a live chat. There's a lot of noise out there. You don't want to talk to everyone. So Qualified actually connects to Salesforce and Pardot, and it's able to pull in lead and contact information so you can specifically know if you're talking to a VIP, a VP, a decision maker. It's really kind of like magic. Now, if you don't know who someone is, well, what happens then, Casey? Well, that's when the bots come in handy. Chatbots can then ask questions to further qualify a lead, find out if maybe this is someone you do want to talk to. And they can book meetings while your sales team is out. And they can wake up the next morning with a bunch of meetings on their calendar. Now, here's the promo. If you are a company that wants to give your sales team this ability, right, to be able to talk to decision makers right when they're on your website, do this. Go to qualified.com and start a chat, right? They use their own tool, of course. Start a chat. Tell them that Casey sent you. If you have Salesforce Pardot, when you schedule and then do a demo, they will send you a free copy of my book, Marketing Automation Unleashed. Not bad, right? Well, it's only while supplies last. So hop on this thing today. And that's it for sponsors. Let's get to the show.
There it is. All right, we're recording. We're live. We're coming at you from Studio B in my coronavirus bunker here in my home office in the basement. And no windows, people. So if I go a little crazy on this podcast, you know why. No windows. Turn it into a vampire. But I'm excited to introduce our guest today. He is an experienced digital marketer that is actually doing something fun, wild, scary for some people. He's in a sales role. He's a sales leader now. And the crossover wisdom, we're going to learn all about. We're going to talk all about what he's seeing. Now he's looking back and looking at marketing, and he's working with marketers, and he can see what we're doing right and wrong, and can kind of share insights from the dark side, from the sales side. So happy to introduce Vice President of Sales at Vehicle Media, Daniel Weiner. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thanks for having me. That was quite the intro.
Yeah. Well, you're in a badass role right now. I mean, VP of Sales. Holy shit, a marketer that's now in sales? What is going on? This is crazy, man. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So the theme is really around this, like this intersection. You are seeing things from both dimensions. You're seeing in 3D. Sometimes in marketing, we're like stuck in 2D. We don't see what's going on around us. We don't see what's happening in sales. So you're going to kind of clear the way, the cobwebs for us.
Looking forward to it.
Let me pass you this. This is imaginary because the real one, this is Thor's hammer.
Should I put my hands up?
Yeah. Here you go.
Okay.
Boom. Okay. That's Thor's hammer. Imaginary. Can't get coronavirus from it. Take that and smash for me some kind of myth, bogus strategy, misconception that just drives you crazy.
Do I need to hold my hands up while I do this the whole time?
Yeah, you should do that. And kind of mimic,
I talk in my hands anyways.
Smash, like Hulk.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the biggest myths I see, that kind of skates the line of both sales and marketing would be the fact that, a lot of people think just because you start doing marketing that it's going to be successful. just not the case. No one really gives a shit about the campaigns you're running, what your team's doing, all that sort of stuff. And the market's going to dictate your success. The market being, your customers, your clients, your partners, all sort of stuff like that. So yeah, part of the, the expectation management on my end, where I skate sales and marketing would be, letting clients know day one, you might not see anything happen. You might not see, tangible wins for a couple months, and the thing that we're kind of trying to prove along the way is that things are moving in the right direction and, tangible micro wins, as we like to call them.
Okay, let's talk about that. But you're kind of bursting some people's bubbles, right? I think sometimes we forget, we get sort of holistic, or we get, touchy-feely and happy in marketing, thinking, just because I exist, the universe is fair. If I launch this email, even if it's terrible, but I think it's my baby. Like,
Yeah,
it might be an ugly baby. It might not work. It might just crash and burn.
sure. Yeah,
And
no, it's
yeah,
100% true. And I don't think it's bad to fail too. That's kind of like a
that's another
misconception
point.
as well. A lot of
Yeah.
people think if you, to use your email example, if you send an email and it's got like a horrific open rate or something like that, the world is over. But from my side, you just learned what not to do on the next email, and kind of iterate. Not that you don't always want to win, but if a lot of times when you win, you don't necessarily learn as much than you would from a failure.
How true is that, right? You're winning. You're like, there's magic coming from my fingertips.
You
But
get
when you
complacent.
lose, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you lose, it's just like, ugh, oh, painful, right? Like a painful lesson. Hopefully you take that lesson with you so you don't repeat it.
Yeah, and it kind of puts things into perspective too, because oftentimes, if you do something good, you think you're hot shit, so to speak, or that
Yeah.
you found the secret sauce. And the biggest thing in marketing is this stuff changes, daily, especially now more than ever.
It's so true. So it might take months. You might fail. It's okay to fail, and just keep trying, right? Like when you do fail, when you do skin your knee, or your email takes a header, right? It just dies on arrival. It's okay. Keep going. Learn from it. Do it again.
Yeah, and to that point, to play devil's advocate and sell against myself here, is you don't need to necessarily immediately start paying somebody to do the marketing. You should, try it yourself, because oftentimes, people come to an agency or, just outsource help too early, I think, where they don't have really like a good feel, and not necessarily the money's wasted, but it's not spent as efficiently or well as it could be if you knew more about your own business and your own marketing process and funnel and all that sort of stuff. Agency relationships and stuff of that nature, oftentimes agencies are only as good as the information they're receiving from the client and the feedback and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think
Right.
sometimes, the best thing you can do before you start spending is just trying to do stuff yourself and see what works and doesn't work.
Yeah, not immediately outsourcing. That's interesting. That's a good point. And I think we'll talk about this because sort of the context around this is you're VP of sales at a marketing agency. Is
Yeah.
that accurate? Okay.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
so you it's kind of cool. You're like done marketing, now you're in sales, but you're still working with marketers to try to help them accomplish goals. Cool
Yeah.
stuff. It's cool, multi back and forth crossover. And before we get into like some of the wisdom around agencies and keeping it real, understanding like how do you pick one and select one, I think we can kind of get the inside scoop from you on that. Going back to your myth, could take months, might fail, okay to fail. Try some things yourself before you get started and keep going. This is sort of is there anything else? This sounds like this is the expectations you're setting with people, whether they're working with your company or they're just doing their own marketing. It's like they need to have some ground rules set, or understandings where this is how to operate.
You do. I think the biggest thing is, once people have made the decision that, yeah, like we're going to outsource or we're going to work with somebody and start, putting money towards marketing,
Yeah.
that they don't need to be an active participant in the process. I think that's probably the biggest, sub misconception under that once you start doing marketing, you're just going to be automatically successful. I bring, roughly 10 years of experience. We have clients of all shapes and sizes, and that, those experiences translate to whoever I'm talking to as a prospect, and they gain that insight that we've gained of failures, successes, all sort of stuff. However, if somebody started their business or is in their business, they're always coming to the table at first with, substantially more information and just instinct around their business. So,
Sure.
the more successful clients that we've ever had or that I've ever worked with, for my entire life, are the ones who are super engaged,
Oh yeah,
that
yeah,
are
yeah.
constantly providing feedback. They're giving us what we need in a timely manner. If we say we need something by Wednesday, they're getting it to us by Wednesday. They're not faltering. They're picking up the phone when we call, all sort of stuff like that, and taking it seriously.
Yeah, it's so true. Like I've fallen in that trap. I think a lot of people do, whether you're managing something or you're just working with an outside vendor. Sometimes you're busy and you just want to outsource something or just, delegate something to someone on the team, and you maybe pass it off too quickly, especially if it's really important, like, hey, this is our billing process, or this is how we stay in business. You probably want to keep more of an eye on it. But into your case, like, if it's your marketing, you've got so much experience. If you're the business owner or you're the marketing manager there, don't just necessarily just try to like offload all the responsibility onto the vendor, right? Because they know some really good stuff around that tech, but you're the expert around the business, hopefully, unless you just got there. But
Yeah.
you're the one that has that context around everything else. And you're
Yeah,
good.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, people, don't get me wrong. There are definitely some things I agree with outsourcing.
Like what?
If your invoicing is fairly straightforward and stuff like that, like sure. If you're on a recurring model and everybody's getting billed $50 a month, sure, go ahead and outsource that or something of that nature. With something like marketing, though, it's a moving target. Oftentimes like the scope and goals and all sort of stuff that we're putting on paper on day one
Yeah.
is rarely the exact same goals and scope on day 60 or day 90. There's variation, there's an overall scope, but you learn stuff along the way and you need to change. And in order to be successful as a vendor, the client has to be super engaged as well. And it really doesn't work, unless it's like straight production. If you're saying, hey, like create me, like a white paper, if there are any sort of performance metrics, revenue, traffic, clicks, calls, leads, anything of that nature, you really need an engaged person on the other end of the line to work with you and your team.
Yeah. I guess that kind of ties into a thought I was having as you were saying that, which is like, there's some things you can outsource. There's some things you probably shouldn't.
Yeah.
And in marketing, it's kind of funny. My team does, marketing automation tech. Your team does the marketing and the strategy and the content around that. And yet I'm thinking, I really don't want people to just wholly outsource it. I
Yeah.
want them to be involved, I want them to like collaborate with the person they're working with. And I think it helps just to still own the results and responsibility if you're working there. Like if you don't hit the lead number, throwing your vendor under the bus is not going to help you as a marketer. It's not going to help
Yeah.
your career. Like you need to be involved. And if they're not doing their job, got to cut them loose sooner or later, because it's still you on the line. It's your actual job. They're just, coming in to help out. So you're right. It's like, teamwork makes the dream work here. You need to be involved, still own the thing. Don't delegate the responsibility. Just get the assistance and the knowledge from them.
Yeah, and our entire business model, which people forget, is our success is tied to their success. If our client, if they're a VP of marketing or whoever that may be, if our target is, I don't know, call it 50 leads a month or something like that,
Yeah.
and we hit that or exceed that, they look like a champion.
Yes.
And they're gonna theoretically want to grow with us with that current client. And also, if they move jobs and whatnot, I'd like to think that they would take us with them, and give us a shot at that next career. But, if you only get 30 leads that month, yeah, like to me, it's not, you've got to understand what's going on. There's so many different factors that go into marketing, and oftentimes we don't have control over some of them. So yeah, figuring out like the best way to proceed and making sure expectations are realistic as well. That's a big piece of the sales process from my end, of kind of, a client comes to the table with, these are my goals. And, oftentimes inside, I'm thinking those are some really lofty goals, and we try to break it down for them in terms of like metrics, like, oh, in order to, hit these revenue goals you have, like from our side, like here's what we would have to provide you in terms of leads and what your team would have to close. And if they're still like, yeah, that seems completely realistic, my job is to kind of bring them to the middle and meet somewhere in between of like, well, based on what we've seen, I don't think we can realistically do that for you.
Sure.
Here's something, at least out of the gate,
Yeah.
month one, here's something a little more tangible that I think we can achieve, call it day 0 to 90, the first 3 months of an engagement, which I think is like a really important part of, the original, line I gave you, of that, you don't just come out of the gates and immediately crush it. Sometimes you do, it's not impossible, but like that first 3 months of an engagement to me is such a crucial part of learning and understanding, and learning and understanding each other as well, not just what's going on with your marketing,
Right.
how people work, how they what type of things they respond to, reporting, all that sort of stuff.
Right. You brought up this word, expectations, and
My favorite word.
it's so powerful. And I think um, the majority of the time when good companies have an unhappy customer, and like even Cheshire Impact, our like CSAT is like 9.7, 9.8, 98% type thing, really high. But if there's ever someone who's like not happy, it's not because they're our team, because they're amazing warriors, right? And our sales teams are fantastic, but it's expectations. What were you expecting? And it's usually, did we clarify for you at the very beginning?
Yeah.
Do we make sure we understand your expectations, and did we write them all down, and did we make sure we pass that on to the rest of the team? Are you getting what you expected? And ideally, and normally what happens with us, it's like, I'm sure with your team too, it's like expectations are exceeded every time. People are tickled pink, they're excited. But it's any time that you didn't clarify those expectations. To your point, hey, you're asking for crazy pink bananas, like that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
We probably shouldn't work together. Doing that early helps you avoid all the crazy expectation problems later on.
No, I definitely agree. I think it's too, what I've realized, over the years is every VP of marketing is different. Every director of marketing is different. They have wildly different experience, different knowledge bases. And I think earlier in my career, I used to think, oh, this person knows this, or that, without asking or talking about it, like, yeah, of course they know that, or assume that, or know the process that we're going through for this thing, because the last 5 people I dealt with did. Yeah, like our process definitely has evolved over the years to account for that, of, how do we make sure that, yeah, like virtually as close to 24/7 as possible, they know exactly what we're doing, the reason we're doing it, and what the, expected or hoped for outcome is based on what we're doing.
Right. And it's cool. This is like an insight into sales work that I think marketers need to be aware of. The idea of expectations, the idea, and you brought up just now, assumptions. And I think we should beat up expectations, beat up assumptions. That whole phrase, like, when you assume, it makes an ass out of you and me. If you haven't heard that, now you have. But if you haven't heard that, you rolled your eyes at me. It's true, though.
You just invented that? That's crazy.
I just invented that. TM KC Cheshire.
You're brilliant.
2020.
There you go.
All proceeds benefit COVID victims. The assumptions, you mentioned like assuming that the person you're talking to knows something. And I think you don't truly know that until you ask, right? Like, and in marketing, how many times are we creating webinars assuming people know stuff? Maybe make advanced ones, or make beginner ones, or we assume they don't know something and maybe they do. And now we look like we're talking to them like toddlers. Either way, if you don't know and you're just trying to assume what people know, you're going to talk in the wrong voice. You're going to give them the wrong content. It's crazy.
People also don't want to admit what they don't know, as well.
Point.
So oftentimes, you don't want to. I'm guilty of it. I've done it in the past. If somebody says, an anagram or something, or a 3-letter abbreviation, you're like, oh yeah, I know what that is. And then you go look it up after. I think part of that's too, we our engagements are called partnerships, which, a lot of people say like, oh, that's just like a feel-good word for, contract and client engagement or something, which, part of it is for sure.
Good branding.
What's that?
Good branding.
Yeah, but it really is true. Like the clients that I've had for 2, 3, 4 years and stuff like that, we are a partnership. Like, we speak openly with each other. If I don't understand something that they're asking for, I tell them. It doesn't, there's really no benefit of not having, at least that I can think of, as close to 100%, transparency as possible. You don't know something, or you don't understand why we're doing something. it's not going to last. It's just, it comes down to trust. You need to
Right.
trust what we're doing. You don't have to know 100% of everything we're doing or why things are done. You're paying us for the expertise, but you need to have trust that what we're doing is at least the right direction for that time period.
How do you build trust? What's your secret recipe for that?
I'd say not selling, honestly. Like in my sales career, I can draw like a clear line to a couple years ago. Like I used to do the stuff that I hate that people do today, like sending shitty LinkedIn messages, without knowing the person and stuff like that. And I stopped and
Yeah.
really stopped trying to sell and just started doing stuff like this and talking to as many people as possible. I don't know if it's necessarily a secret recipe, but yeah, just being their person,
Yeah.
helping them out with something when there's not necessarily an expectation of money or an expectation of getting something in return. You gain trust by providing some sort of value as well. I post a lot of content on LinkedIn. That kind of creates an interaction without an interaction. So they see content or they interact with my content, when I reach out to them, a week or two later, if I do for something just to say, hey, whatever it is, they're more receptive generally than who's this random guy on the internet asking me for something.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah, you can't fake trust, like
Yeah.
my clients are, some of my clients have taken a year to become a client or 6 months to become a client. And yeah, it's worth it at the end. There's also people who have not become a client that I've, invested a ton of time. I think that's part of it. You really can't fake it. You got to honestly care somewhat. You got to give a shit about their business. You got to be willing to, times like this, especially, people's true colors come out in times of distress or,
so true.
Worried. Our clients are as worried as the rest of people. And, you got to be willing to, within reason, do what you can.
Did you, speaking of caring, did you see, in True Colors, so right, I don't know if you saw my rant on LinkedIn the other day, like a couple of days ago.
I did, and I thought you were going to go with a Phil Collins reference when you said True
Studio.
Colors.
Oh, True Colors. Yeah, I know. I mean, Phil Collins, I'm not sure when the right time is to listen to that again, but I do know at the time in the 90s that was a good song.
No, I didn't see your rant. Tell me about it. I love a good rant.
Yeah, no, I don't usually do that because I don't got time for that, people. But we received an email from a competitor Salesforce partner, probably because we're on their list or I don't know, whatever.
Sure.
And
they're stalking you. You're doing something right.
Yeah, right. So, let's see, where is this thing? And so we get this email, and the internal conversation between some of our managers was like, do we use this thing or like, do we copy this? And I look at the email and I'm trying to pull it up over here. It basically, let's see, what did it started out with this big banner at the top that says "We Care," and I basically posted this on LinkedIn too. Big banner at the top of the email saying "We Care" or "Their brand cares." It's like this brand, we care, it cares, something like that. And that kind of, I pay attention to that because one of our core values at Shash is we care. And we actually do care, and like it matters. And if you don't care, like it's a core value. Like be part of the team, you gotta care about your clients. And so it's like we care, and then in the email, it's like, hey, are you affected by COVID-19? And they're using the keywords and everything. And they're like, are you affected by this thing? We care about you. We want to help. And it's like, and so we're offering you our services, and we can't wait to work with you and help you in your time of need. And then there's like a pricing table. And something about having the we care, okay, I found it. The we care thing on there, and then a pricing table, I was just like grossed out. And like I'd been seeing probably a lot of these, so this was like the tip of the match, where it was just like, it was like, in an effort to combat COVID-19 and the revenue impacts it had on companies today, blank has created a special program, and blank supports customers with internal resources at a fraction of the cost, right? So it's like, oh, I see. You're not really helping. And then you go and you look at the prices and you're like, that looks like your normal prices. So like, what are you even doing? You're just using that keyword to kind of like get our attention. And it's like there's a lot of noise out. I know everyone's doing that, but there's a lot of noise out there just to get people's attention. But then to say that you care and then
Yeah.
be like, buy my shit. No, if you care, like, do you have an emergency thing where you're going to help train people on the spot to do Salesforce so they can cover in this time of need? Like, put your friggin' ass out there and like actually help people. So I was
Yeah.
pissed. I ranted. I actually filled up the LinkedIn. There's a max apparently, and I filled it up and
Did you
put
feel
a pic.
better after? Did you feel better afterwards?
Yeah, I did.
Good. That's
But you know, the dilemma was like, do I cover their name or not?
yeah.
And like, I like
You took
really
the high
wish
road.
I wish we should show, right? Like whenever it's like cops or something and they blur someone's face, it's like, no, they're not an alleged person. I mean, I know they haven't been convicted yet, but we all on national television just literally saw them break the law.
Yeah.
So what
They
are we
probably
talking
wouldn't.
about
Yeah,
here?
but that's
You
the
know?
thing. They sent that out to the masses. So
Yeah, right. I just want to
yeah.
throw them under the bus and be like, but anyways, the whole point was not to get them in trouble, but it was more of just, and people were like, why are you so pissed off? And I was like, I just want to warn other marketers, like, don't do this, because if you do this now, and you said this at the very beginning, you're like, you know, what you do in those times, right? What you do, your true colors show. This company, their true colors have shown. And I will remember that. I will remember them if I ever see them at another Salesforce event. I might even mention it to them every time I see them because we were all down in this shit and like they were doing that. And my company could have done the same thing, but we
Yeah.
didn't, you know? So anyways, I just put it out there. I wanted people to know, like, don't be like these people. And I know it's a valid question because my own team was like, well, you know, should we use it? And what I told people was like, whatever you do, just don't use COVID-19 or coronavirus. Like, I think it's okay to mention, hey, are you locked down like I am? Sucks, right? Let's
Yeah.
meet. Let's get a like virtual coffee or something. I think that's totally cool. Like, you can't ignore the present. Totally get it. But like to be like, hey, there's a lot of people trying to get attention for coronavirus. You don't need to be another one of those brands being like, what's up? We're trying to help you. We care. Like, don't fake it. You know, it's so gross.
Yeah, I saw. I can't remember who posted it. Like one of the what I call LinkedIn thought leaders.
Oh yeah.
And
Aren't we all? Aren't we all though?
I borrowed a piece of it for some of the email, but no, I've been trying to get everybody on the phone basically just to talk. But the ones that I have emailed, you know, people that are in the pipeline or whatnot, you know, the note is basically short and sweet. It's if what we were talking about before this is still of interest to you, let me know. If not, hopefully when things cool down, we can return and talk some business. And if there's anything,
Sure.
that's what I'm saying. The people I genuinely care about, I've already called and left voicemails and stuff like that. I don't think me saying it in an email necessarily buys it. Again, like I take the transparent line, but you know, pre all this with sales, like, you know, it's a game. It's, you know I want your money and I think we provide value. You know that I want your money. You're not sure if I provide value, but you know I want your money. You know, and you go back and forth and play that dance. Like that piece hasn't changed because of this.
Right. We're still trying to get you to buy stuff, but we want to help you.
Right. But I also understand that, like, you know, the rebranding that I was discussing or the website project probably went like to the wayside in terms of like, I don't know, like making sure employees can feed their families and stuff. Like, I understand that. So I think it would be, I saw some people saying like you shouldn't even be bringing up the situation, which I disagree with. It's the elephant in the room. If you don't, I think it's weird. I don't think you need to dwell on it, but yeah, if you don't bring up on the phone or something like, this is pretty crazy. What are you doing to stay sane? You know, stuff like that. I think I would feel weird if somebody didn't bring it up. I'd be like, wait, are they not affected by this? Are they still like, you know, going about their day? But yeah, I mean, everybody got this. I've seen a lot of memes about like every company you've ever given your email address to, like sending you an email about what they're doing.
Was that Marketunist? Was that the cartoon? Did you see that?
I've seen a lot of those. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Mark, I don't know, have you heard of the Marketunist? You gotta check him out. It's just like Marketunist. So like it's like Marketunist, longtime marketer, big corporate marketer, and he just loves cartooning. And he like started doodling about how silly his job was in the big meetings, and it took off. So now he's got a book, and he was on the podcast too. And you're right. It's one of those things too, where it's like, hey, every brand we ever knew is now emailing us to say, how are you doing? You know,
when this is all over, you should fly all of your podcast participants to like somewhere tropical to have, you know, a meetup or something.
Oh yeah. And he can draw caricatures of all of us. That would be awesome.
Perfect. Absolutely.
Be like, no, it's not a vacation for you. You got to work.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, that's cool.
Yeah, right. So but your point, around that was like, everyone and their mom is trying to reach out. I think the reason I was mad about that, and I think why we're talking about it, is like, because I do care, and like, I think it's okay to joke, to jest. I mean, we're all it's a stressful situation, but at the same time, like, people have died, and people, and like, it's a sensitive
It's
topic.
just uncertainty. I've also realized too,
Yeah.
like people I've been, dealing with as my point of contact for my pipeline, like they might not have a job currently. I might be
Right.
emailing no one. Yeah, I mean, that kind of goes into like another myth I think we talked about last time of like, to me, in terms of like what I do and my clients and how I get clients and gain trust and stuff like that. I think we do, great work, but I also think most agencies do pretty great work. Like
Oh yeah,
no
tell me
one's,
about that. We were chatting a little bit about that.
yeah, I don't think, I think nowadays, like, with the way the internet progresses, it's everything. And just, so many talented creative people out there, I think it's, the work comes secondary. It's like 90% relationship, 10% work, only because I don't think anybody's doing terrible work. Some people do things better than others and there's process that's better than others. But, if somebody creates something that a client hates, I'm of the opinion they probably got some bad direction or didn't get a brief or didn't get information because
Biased much?
truly.
You're right. Like for great. I mean, I had some graphic designers in my day that had like drawn logos. Shout out to Brianna and all the people on our team too that like have made this wizard type effort where I'm just like, oh my gosh, like that's like the logo for this
And
show.
the client hates it probably.
Well, no, thankfully I was the client, so I
Oh,
was like happy with it. But you're right. Like they can make some amazing things, but it's all about what the client actually wants too. You're right about that. Expectations, right?
yeah, and it's subjective too.
Yeah.
Like part of what I sell against. So hopefully, or part of my selling proposition is, which hopefully none of my competitors are listening to this tidbit, but if you got the same project or the same brief and you passed it to 10 agencies or 10 other vendors, you'd get 10 different prices. You'd get presumably a big range of prices. You'd get 10 different processes, 10 different timelines, like all that sort of stuff. If you wipe all that away, like who do you want to deal with? To me, the sales process is very indicative of what the engagement is going to be like once there's an exchange of money. If you're if you're a shithead during prospecting and not following up and not being proactive and not being helpful, what makes you think that that's going to change, once you're paying for it?
That's a good point.
So no, I think
good dating metaphor too, right?
Yeah, 100%. And that's this just reiterates that, or kind of hits that home that during this process, like the people you're close with, they're probably picking up the phone and like, if you don't answer, leaving a voicemail like, hey, is there anything, just want to make sure your job was safe. Like, if not, is there anything I can do to help? Before it's like, hey, about that, those white papers we were going to create for you, like, what you think? Still one of yours?
It seems disingenuous. Like, there's like this pandemic going on, right? Like, and you're asking me about white papers, but maybe you still need white papers. It's more about like, how can I help? If you genuinely want to.
Yeah, it's also leadership too. Like, I still understand, like, people have jobs and they've got to do what they're being told, So like if I've seen a lot of like SDRs being berated on LinkedIn for like still, sending in mails and just like getting to the point and like sending their normal cadence and stuff like that, which I don't think is their fault. They're trying to keep their job and then hit metrics and numbers and stuff like that have been provided to them by leadership. To me, it's more tone deaf on that end of not, changing with the times.
Yeah, that trust is huge. I mean, I've been writing down keywords and some of the things you said here along the way, and I've got expectations are in big letter, assumptions are in big letter, trust building and care, and you mentioned that 90% relationship, 10% work. These are all like, and I'm so glad you're here, right? Because these are the insights that marketing, we're focused on. Oftentimes we're not focused on a single area. We're kind of like zoomed out to see the whole process, and there's a value in marketing for doing that. But sales can be very much zoomed in on the relationship, on that that closing portion of that part. And it's important to understand and for marketers to zoom in every now and then so they get a sense for what's that very important part the sales is doing at the very end of this thing. How can I assist with that? And it can be true that relationship is key. There's this Zig Ziglar quote, and I think it's something effective like, if people like you, they'll listen to you. But if people trust you, they'll buy from you. They'll do
Yeah.
business with you, right? So liking you, all right, let's chat. You're a pleasant fellow, but like I trust you, you actually care. Like you're showing me with your actions, you're showing me with your words that I can trust you and that you're into this for me, not just for yourself. You're not just a car salesman, but you're like, hey, I get it. How can I help? And you still need that thing. All the things you're saying, all those words, I think that conveys trust. And so sometimes we can't even, describe it. What you do is you get on the phone with people and they're like, I trust this guy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what it is about him. I don't know what he's saying, but I trust him.
Yeah, no, I agree. And don't get me wrong, like you can't do if you do horrific work, eventually the thing will end and people are going to get pissed off. To me, like in that same vein, like delivering on time and delivering what you're supposed to on time. Like people are, and rightly so. Like if you're a vendor, and this goes back to every word you just said as well, if you're a vendor and you tell someone I'm sending you, a homepage design by Wednesday at 5:00.
Yeah.
Wednesday at 5:01, something is triggered inside of them to not trust you. Even if you send it, even if you send it at 5:02, in my opinion, it's something switches of, well, they still sent it, but it wasn't exactly like, why didn't they, is what I think. And I'm the exact same way, with my team as well. Like if you, I would rather you tell me if I need something, again, sales and marketing, I think, at least for me, like I butt heads just from like a timeliness thing of like, this sale, like I need these things right now. And I would rather somebody tell me, Danny, it's going to be a week than tell me it's going to be 3 days if they're going to miss the deadline. Because the flame of anger inside of me expecting and changing my process and probably letting a client know like, oh, you're getting this Wednesday, all goes up in smoke. I would much rather somebody tell me, hey, Danny, it's going to be a week, so I can pass to the client, hey, things are a little weird right now. We've had to restructure some stuff with what's going on. Like it's going to take a little longer. It's going to be a week, but we'll definitely have it to you, next week by such and such date and time.
Right. There's something about that, like keeping your promises. It's like your word, right? You've said this will happen, so you need to deliver on that. And I think that's so huge. Have you heard of the 4 agreements?
I think so.
Don Miguel Ruiz.
No,
I
maybe
think
not.
it was Jesse. Someone had told me about this, and it's a short little book called The 4 Agreements, and they're be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions, and always do your best. It sounds like what we're talking about here on this podcast. All those things.
Am I Don Miguel Ruiz right now?
Are you? Maybe you've come back, Don Ruiz, Don Miguel. How are you, sir? Like, welcome to the podcast.
I agree with all of them. And for me too, like, I'm selling a service that somebody else is doing, like another team member. So like I'm not personally doing the design or the development of a website, So my word also has to be backed up by their word. So like having clear expectations and not assuming anything with my team as well has been, a big thing too over the years. At the beginning, oftentimes it's like, oh, can we just do this thing like really fast, and having to come to terms with, if you do that 100 times, like nobody has any time in the day for what they were planning on doing. So I mean, being transparent with clients as well as internally of what you guys can do and timing and all that sort of stuff, which is why I lean heavily on like our creative director at our company.
Yeah, and I think what you're talking about too, this is cool because there's things you're aware of, and then there's things you can control. And what you're making sure happens is you're being impeccable with your word, with what you can control, right?
Yeah.
Like you have a creative director, and you trust that person who probably delivers on their word. They got it, but they've got their area they can control. What you can control is that relationship and the conversations you're having pre-sale, setting expectations, the things you can do. If you're going to say, I'm going to send you a link to that webinar tomorrow, like by tomorrow, it'll happen. I'm going to send you that SOW today. It'll happen. you are only able to control what you can control.
Yeah.
And so ... marketers listening to this, hey, what can you control? You can't control the salespeople. You can't force them to call. But like, what can you control it? As a marketer, you know that if people are signing up for the webinar, you can control that they're going to get a confirmation email. We were just talking about this the other day. Or if you promise them in an email that when they click on that, they go to the landing page or the webinar, whatever you promise them, or in that ad, whatever you've said that you're going to give them, you actually give them. Like, you're being impeccable with their word. And I think it starts there.
Yeah, no, and I can't think of what that other quote is, but it's like, it takes a lifetime to gain trust and a second to lose it, or something like that. I completely agree with. Like, one tiny slip up has the chance or the opportunity to ruin months and months of hard work to gain trust, and rightly so. If the right thing is messed up to, a significant degree, then yeah, I can't blame people for, doing what they think is right.
Yeah. No, I looked it up. I Googled it. We don't have like a live producer like Joe Rogan does, but
What do you mean? You can't just throw it to the left or something like that?
Hey, Jamie. I know. Yeah. Hey, Jamie, look that up for me. Oh, thanks. It takes trust takes years to build, seconds to break, and forever to repair.
Right.
Love that. That's a good call. Something happened to me probably a year ago now, but I still like to rant about it. I saw like an ad on, I think it was on, might have been on Facebook, and it was like AI plus marketing automation. Get this like white paper. Hear all about what the latest is.
Okay.
You know me, right? Marketing automation, that's my bag. So I'm like, I see it, I go, oh yeah. And then AI, there's so much myth around it right now that I'm like, I really want to know, how does AI tie into marketing automation? So I click on the thing. Sometimes I'll just do this to kind of see where it goes to. But in this case, I really did want to add to my brain to understand a little bit more how these things might intersect. And so I go to the landing page, filling out their little stupid form. I don't remember the form much at all, because what I wanted was that content. So I filled it out. I knew that they were going to, get my information. I'm okay with that. It's a barter. They give me the white paper. And I'm like, all right, let's make this happen. I download it. I pull it up. It's designed beautifully. At the top, the header, someone had a designer, and I get to it, and it's junk. It's fluff. There's nothing in it. It's like they hired a content writer in Antarctica. Sorry, Antarctica. I don't know, man. It was so bad.
Are you sure I'm not from Antarctica? You didn't ask that.
I know. Did I offend you?
I'm deeply offended now.
I got like the entire continent listens to this podcast, and now they're all gonna change.
Those are my people.
They're gonna listen to I Love Marketing instead. I just lost them all. But like I don't remember the specifics other than like what they had promised.
Right.
With their word as a marketer, and the ad was great, the pictures were great, everything was designed super well. But when I got this white paper, I could tell, and I was like, okay, I'm not learning anything. I don't know if anyone else is learning anything. I'm not just being like picky. It's just like my expectations were destroyed. Like it didn't. So I was pissed. I immediately unsubscribed. I might have wrote them a reply.
Feels good. It feels good to unsubscribe, doesn't it? I feel like that's like this day and age's like version of like corporate breakup.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
don't call me.
Take me off your email list.
Yeah. Don't call me, bro.
Immediately.
I'm out of this thing. So I unsubscribed. Probably wrote back saying like how mad I was, like a sentence, just like I'm disappointed in this paper, whatever. But you know what happened the next day? A sales rep called me.
Did he give you a good sales pitch?
Had no idea that I was pissed that I'd unsubscribed or any of those things. It was
He's like, you love us, right?
Yeah. And he was like, hey, have you heard of this company? And I was like, oh yeah, I've heard of this company. I mean, this is like when we talk about like,
you're like, welcome to my podcast.
Yeah. Hey, hold on. Let me hit record real quick. You're live on the air. But when we talk about like, don't mess with COVID in this time, people will remember, like, I will remember that you are the company that scammed me and got me to fill out that thing with some clickbait and then delivered nothing. And I was like, dude, honestly, that was the worst paper I've ever seen in my life. And I really, because of that, I don't trust you guys. I don't want to talk to you. I'm sorry. It's nothing on you. I was nice to him because like, it's not him, but it's like, I'm sorry, man. Marketing put a bad taste in my mouth with that white paper.
That just made me think though, that kind of just proves the point from like the very beginning of how difficult marketing is. is, you know,
Yeah.
like, and how many different expectations there are. Like you're in it, you're in the business, you know, maybe the paper sucked, but maybe there was 20 other people who knew nothing about,
Sure.
you know, automation, who said, oh, this is incredible. Like, I just learned a ton,
Hey,
you know?
that's so true, right? I might not have been their target
Right.
audience, but
And with that, like, yeah, you know, that's why I say, like, when I'm talking to, especially from like a media standpoint of like, you know, ads and clicks and stuff like that, and I turn it back to like prospect a lot of the time, I'm like, you know, when we're talking through something, like, yeah, like just think about yourself, like how difficult, you know, a relatively internet savvy person, like, you know, I'm not clicking on something unless I'm pretty interested, you know,
Right.
like in what it is. You know, we're inundated with ads and stuff like that, but you gotta really do something like impactful to get me to click.
Yeah.
And then you got to do something again. Like, you got to deliver another message that keeps me on the page. And then you probably want me to like leave an email or, you know, do something else. Like, it's really hard. And you're marketing to me, you're marketing to you, like, you know, people of all different education level, you know, on that topic. So yeah, like marketing, I say that to people all the time, like marketing's hard. Like, you know.
Yeah. I love the devil's advocate, you know, rather just going with me on the fact that this company's terrible. You're like, well, Casey, maybe
don't get me
you're
wrong,
just not the guy. Yeah,
it was probably
it's totally
shit.
possible.
I
Yes,
trust
no,
you. It
it's
could have
totally
sucked.
possible that I was just being like, you know, like super genius Casey at the moment, being like, I didn't learn a single thing here.
I try to
think I
take
was just
myself out
disappointed,
of it.
you know?
I try to take myself out of it when I'm thinking of it. Like, if I look at something and I think it sucks, I'm like, is that because like we do this, or like does this actually suck? You know?
Right.
And it's hard. Like, you know, it's like you're in the Matrix. You're like, wait, does that suck? Like, do I suck? Did I, you know, do I know? You know, it's so, marketing is just so subjective. Like, you can know everything about your, you know, your ICP and who you're supposed to market to and stuff. Other people are going to get through, you know, too. You know, and you want to put forth like a good message to them. It's just a lot, you know?
Yeah. You know, it's true. I think I have experienced that. Maybe I'm just more critical of marketing because, hey, I'm a marketer and hold themselves to high standards. But like, I'll see an ad, you know, like Super Bowl ads, right? We know people spend millions of dollars on them, and not all of them are good.
Yeah.
Or they were targeted to those people, right? Like, I know there's, you know, there's ads that target certain demographics watching at certain times. And if you're like, oh, that was terrible, you know, maybe there's like 9 million people that loved it.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it was
not for you.
I think Gary Vee's company did, what was it, the Planters ad this year that everybody hated? He got like reamed on TV for and stuff like that. And I think
tell me about it. I didn't hear about that.
I don't want to misspeak on it. I think the whole shtick was,
you can misspeak. That's half of the show is all about.
I'll just lie. That's how we build trust here. No, I'm pretty sure it was the Mr. Planters ad was done by Weiner Media.
The Baby Nut? Did he do that?
I'm pretty sure.
Baby Nut was, I saw one. It was like kind of terrible, but cute, I guess. You're like,
baby? And I think it got overall like really bad reviews. And whatever interview I saw with him, he was like, you know, basically like, fuck you guys. Like, let's wait a couple months and see like what the numbers are before you tell me this commercial sucked. And that's part of, honestly, like, I agree, again, to go back to like not the work necessarily, more the relationship. Like, at the end of the day, if I'm talking to a client and I use this all the time, like, you know, when you're talking about like the nuances of like creative stuff like that, like, oh, like, should this be green? Should this be blue? And oftentimes I'll take a step back and be like, look, man, like, if I told you could sell more and there was like a picture of like an elephant smoking a cigarette, like, do you really care like what, you know, this is? Like, you want to drive traffic and action. Like, let's try a bunch of these things. Like, let's not get hung up on like this one color
that's a good point.
Or font or something like that. Like, at the end of the day, do you really care? Like, you care about the end game and the end result. Like, you don't want to present your brand in a negative light.
Yeah.
And, you know, for some brands that's excluded, I think. Like, if you're like Coke or you're Mercedes or something like that, like an iconic, you know, worldly, everybody in the world knows your brand. Like, yeah, like some rules don't apply. But for 98%, you know, you should be trying a lot of stuff. And yeah, I don't think you should get hung up on little things like that.
Yeah. No, it's a good point, right? Do you want it to be successful or do you want it to look good? Sometimes you can have both. So, but like, if you were going to err in one direction or not, which way would you go? It's like the goal. Have the goal in mind. How many leads do you want to have? What do you want to have come in? Yeah, it makes sense. You know, I looked it up. The Baby Nut was during the last Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Makes sense because I didn't watch it because my Patriots weren't in it. And
I'm
we're
a
probably
Giant
not
fan.
watching it this year either.
I have nothing to live for as a Giant fan, so.
You won a couple, didn't you? I mean, you beat us, I think.
We did.
I try to phase that out of my mind, though.
Can I shout out my dad right now? My dad
Yeah.
actually told me like 2 days ago. He's like, "Yeah, I rewatched the Giants Patriots Super Bowl." I was like, "Oh my god, we're doing reruns of Super Bowl. This is bad."
That's true. Well, see, now I can't stand reruns of anything with Tom Brady. It's too soon, too painful. Like seeing him in a Buccaneers outfit. Oh, even though it's photoshopped.
That's gonna be weird.
So weird. No, I want Belichick to pull some magic out of his sleeve. Pull some like
this year?
97th draft pick. And just be like, we're gonna do this, boys. Do your job. Come on, man. We still have him. When Belichick retires from football, I'm gonna switch sports. I'm out. I'm going somewhere else.
Well, baseball's coming back. Hopefully, it sounds like.
Maybe. Do you think the season will even be on? I heard that maybe it's not even. They have to adjust it.
No. So as of they've been working on it for weeks. Like they're working with literally like the World Health Organization.
Yeah.
To like vet out these solutions, but they're saying like mid-May we could see games.
See games. Would they have anyone in the stands though?
Nah, no one in the stands, and then
sick.
Essential personnel is.
Have you played baseball?
I have. Grew up playing baseball and soccer.
What would it? I guess. Did you have people in your stand? I was more of a soccer guy, but like, did you have people in the stands when you were playing?
Yeah, parents, family. I don't think the scouts were coming when I was like 10 years old, but yeah.
Like, do you lose some of that glitter when there's like no one there?
I think it's difficult to get up as a player.
Does this even matter? I mean, you're still making millions of dollars, hopefully. But
yeah, I think it still matters because they still want a title, and the expectation of like winning still. But yeah, I mean, it's tough. Like, we were talking. One of my good friends coaches college basketball, and like he was like, yeah, like we don't know how to like hype our team up to come out to like the tunnel with no one yelling and screaming.
Right. Or like you hit a home run and it's the quietest home run you've ever hit. And, you got like millions of people watching on Facebook Live and you see all the thumbs up signs go flying. And you're like, that's as much as you get. You just get the
imagine
thumbs
it's
up flying.
Super eerie to be in like a professional stadium that holds, 30, 40, 50,000 seats and there's like 50 people in the stands.
You feel like a practice almost. Or
probably.
Scrimmage.
I'll take anything at this point, honestly. I need yeah, I'll lie. I was pumped to watch the. I think there was like an NBA. They're organizing like an NBA 2K PlayStation tournament with NBA players or something that I was like ready to watch. You
know what they could do? They could put the athletes in like full MOP gear, which is like the military, chemical weapons gear. Put them in level 4 MOP gear, which is like a sweat sauna.
What's the dexterity on that though? Can they swing a bat?
Doesn't even matter. But everyone will be equal. They're all in it. Of course, you're right. They'll probably rip these suits with their giant. They'll have to have duct tape crews on the sidelines to patch them
Seriously.
up. You can have full contact if you're in MOP gear. Face mask, can't breathe.
I thought you were a marketer. You're a visionary.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I see you've recognized, fellow visionary has recognized what's going on here. Yeah, right? So, hey, who are you, man? How did you become this marketing salesperson marketing amazing intersection?
No clue. No.
Take us back. Take us back in time.
Yeah, I was born in New York. Grew up there, lived there till I was about 9 years old. And then my dad's company got relocated and moved down to the suburbs of Atlanta.
So Mets or Yankees?
Oh God, Yankees. I'd be disowned.
So you would be disowned
if I liked the Mets. I'm saying.
Oh right.
Yeah.
Now, go down to Atlanta, but it doesn't mean you switch to the Braves because you got like.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I've become like a proxy. I've always rooted for the Braves because I want the Yankees to play them in the World Series.
Root for the home team.
There you go.
Yeah.
God, we're finishing each other's sentences now. But
wait, we're finishing each other's sandwiches.
There you go.
Do you know that movie?
I don't.
Frozen.
Oh yeah. I haven't seen all of Frozen.
Yeah.
Is this interview over?
Do you have kids?
I don't have kids. No. Well,
see, if you have kids, you'd have watched it like 9 times and you quote it, but you haven't, so I don't blame you.
Hey, you know what? I got nothing to do the next like 30 nights in a row, so I'll put Frozen on. I'll report back.
And you can sing along to it, right? Because there's no one else in there. Okay, so
Yeah.
You're at Georgia, New York, Georgia. How old were you?
I was like 10 years old, right before third grade.
Was that tough?
Like that. Yeah, it
third
was
grade,
weird.
right?
Big
Yeah.
culture shock. Also,
Oh yeah.
growing up with the last name Weiner was a little more normal in New York. So coming down to
Right.
Georgia, that was a bit of a shock. But
Do they at least say it different, like Weiner? So you're not even sure if they're saying it.
everybody defaults to Weiner because they don't want to say it. Like when people used to play,
Ah.
back when house phones were a thing, they'd call me like, "Hi, can we speak to Mr. Weiner?" I'd be like, "It's let me just get my
Well, if
dad."
you say it the other way and you're wrong, then
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
just
Then
wanted
you're
to,
yeah, but no,
you
Georgia was
correct
cool.
people.
Always, yeah. I used to not. Now I do because it's funny to see people's reactions when I'm like, no, it's or when because a lot of people will be like, Danny, like they don't want to go either way, and I finish. I'm like, it's Wiener. You can.
Danny,
Yeah, Danny,
Daniel. Just drop the last name.
Yeah.
Okay, it's you're just owning it, right? You're owning it.
Yeah.
You're like, actually, it's Wiener, sir. I mean, what was that like growing up with that as a last name? Was that crazy, or did you just like own it?
I owned it. It was never really like people were like, oh, did you always get bullied? I was like, no. Like it was honestly, I say to this day, like I probably wouldn't know half the people I know if my name wasn't Wiener. Because when you're a kid, people thought it was funny, and you'd be like, oh,
right.
are you that Wiener kid?
That's cool. Yeah, as opposed, it's like your name was dumbass or something.
No, so no. Yeah. I mean, that's still what my lifelong friends call me. But no,
right,
down
of course,
here.
of course.
Yeah, ended up playing
Georgia.
playing a bunch of sports growing up.
Nice.
A lot of baseball, a lot of soccer. Ended up doing college at Clemson in South Carolina. Go Tigers.
Okay.
Which was
heard a lot about those guys. I hear those games are. And who's the rival with Clemson?
South Carolina.
Oh, got it.
We don't like those guys, but yeah, Clemson was amazing. Can't say enough.
You ever punched anyone from that school?
I have not. I've never been that type of fan. I mean, there's honestly been stories of like people like killing each other after those games.
Damn.
I was more of the opinion of like, well, let's get drunk and have fun. So.
Right.
That was more my brand in college. But yeah, Clemson was awesome. Both roommates had lake houses around the corner, which was awesome. So really good 4 years of my life.
And no, you went to school for, it was like communications?
Yeah.
And what was the thought? Just like, hey, let's pick a major? Because, I mean, at what point are you figuring out what you want to do in life?
No clue. That's actually funny. I can still vividly remember like sitting in the orientation, like before you went to, college, like I guess like the month or two prior. And, they're talking through like majors and stuff and like, how if you don't know what you want to do, like what you should do. And the line from like the president was like, oh, if you don't know what you want to do, like you should become a communications major because communications majors can do anything. Like if you're good at writing or if you're good at speaking, I'm like, oh, sounds just like me. Perfect. And I can still vividly remember getting like questions after college when I interviewed, like, all right, well, we see you're a communications major. Like, what can you do? I'm like, I got no clue. They told me I could do anything. Like, what do you mean?
So, I mean, I guess that's true. They did set you right. I mean, that is, if you can do that stuff, that works. I've also heard like that's like the easy major.
It was for me, honestly. I've always found writing to be writing has always come naturally to me, and the majority of work as a communications major was long form writing and the tests as well. So I've never been the best like multiple choice test taker, but I can write about my point of view very easily. So to that end, like, if you can bring up a point and defend it, like you probably get an A if you defend it well. So I found it to be, for me at least, relatively easy, but I can't say that for everybody else.
Yeah, and
it played to my strong suit.
Right here, I am saying easy, but like if it's your jam, like, and I say that too because like I was comm as well. I was computer science and comm, right? Because I was a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and but you're right. Like if you like writing, then that can really play into your skills and what's fun. So okay, so you do that, but you get out in the real world, and they're like, what skills do you have?
Well, I graduated in 2008 during the recession. So.
Oh damn! What was that like?
Sucked. No one was hiring, and.
Did you work in like Chick-fil-A down there in Georgia?
I moved back in with my parents for like a year. I want to say while I was looking for like normal jobs. I worked at a UPS store actually.
No kid. Like, do you wear the brown uniform and stuff?
I think we wore. It wasn't like a full-on brown uniform. I think I wore like a brown UPS polo. Yeah, shout out UPS right now. But do you do like overlays of this, where we like throw the UPS logo up in this, or
not yet? But we might want to try that.
I was gonna say you can shout out my dad and UPS, but no, did that while I was looking for what I consider normal jobs, and just didn't have luck. started doing like a little bit of freelance work that I would find online for like writing, and social media was still like in its infancy. People didn't really know what to do with it. I had put my resume.
Kind of still don't, do they?
No, I think they know a lot more, but I think a lot of times people don't know like what they should do with social media. But yeah, I put my resume on like every what I considered cool job board, back when I graduated, and I actually got like a super random, so random that myself as well as my parents thought it was like a scam, someone trying to steal my money. The very little money I had back then after college, probably like $20, but from Facebook, asking if I wanted to interview for a contract role. It was an absurd process. It was, I had to go through like multiple rounds of like this, like live sessions of operating Facebook, basically.
Oh.
Like they would ask me questions like, well, how would you do this? Like all around their ad platform. And I had to like figure it out like while we did it and stuff like that. And I actually got the job, which was kind of like my first foray into social media and marketing. And once Facebook was on my resume, even though it was, a short contract gig, like everything I applied for was in the social media vein.
So it was like the mothership, actually. You were a contractor for them?
It was the mothership. Yeah, worked from home, largely involved with stuffing envelopes. But yeah, I got to work on their self-serve ad platform actually this was like 2009. So.
Jeez.
Yeah.
But I hear you, right? You slap that puppy on the resume and people are like, oh, teach us the way. I don't understand this. Thefacebook.com. Please help us out with it.
Yeah,
Cool.
no, and that pointed me in the direction. So like my first, relatively normal gig was at an automotive retailer. Started their social media department. So I was creating and managing social profiles for like 80 to 90 car dealerships across the country.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Car dealerships.
Yeah, definitely an interesting space for marketing.
I mean, it's cutthroat, right? I mean, you have to really show up. I mean,
cutthroat, old
everyone's
school,
selling cars. Commoditized, really.
Yeah, it's very driven by price. So price and experience, and you rarely, think about yourself. Like I've had both positive and negative car experiences. Even the positive ones I expect, I don't really want to tell anyone. I'm like, oh, like, yeah, they should be decent human beings,
Yeah. Well, the trouble with haggling is that like no one actually wins, so you always feel like you're in this adversarial.
It's still just I can't believe it, honestly. I got a new car. When was that? Last summer, and it's still such an antiquated process. It is.
Yeah, I got one more recent, like February or something, and you're right. It's painful for me, actually.
I knew exactly what I wanted. I knew exactly what I wanted to pay. I told them this, and it was still like a 4-hour process. And they still do the thing where they walk over with like a piece of paper and write the price. And I'm like, no. Like they're like, well, how about this? I'm like, still no. Working in the automotive world, I learned some of the tricks and the trades of like what they're going to do. And for all the people out there, hold strong if what you're offering is realistic. But yeah, after the automotive retail, I wasn't really happy in that space. This kind of leads to how I ended up doing what I'm doing now. The brightest spot of my day while working there was eating at a sandwich shop right around the corner called Rising Roll Gourmet. Ate there basically every single day. And I looked on their Facebook page one day and noticed they didn't really have a presence. Cold emailed the COO. He invited me to lunch like 2 or 3 days later and told me to put together a contract, which I actually obviously knew very little about.
Yeah, right.
Together, like the scope of
Give
work.
me money, I do things.
I'm not kidding. That's really what it was, if I remember correctly. It was like basically written in crayon on like a piece of paper. Like, you will pay me this, and like I will do social media.
Signed in mayonnaise.
Pretty much, and they were my first client.
Wow.
And I got
Where's this restaurant at? Oh, this sandwich shop?
There's probably, if I remember correctly now, there's probably like 10 to 15 around the country.
What's it called again?
Rising Roll Gourmet. Yeah. They're in Atlanta. They're based in Atlanta as far as I remember.
Where in Atlanta? Isn't Atlanta a gigantic city?
Atlanta is. Where are they? The one I used to eat at was off Sugarloaf Parkway in the Burbs in Sewanee, but I don't know if that's even there anymore.
All right.
But yeah,
well, if I'm ever in that area, I need to check it out because it sounds like this place is legit. You're eating there every day out of necessity, or just like this was like great sandwich or something.
Great sandwiches. I consider myself a sandwich connoisseur. They do the sandwich right there.
Favorite sandwich from that place? What do you recommend? What was your favorite one?
Grilled chicken panini.
Okay. See, these are the important things, the details
That's
of
what
this
I'm
journey.
saying. I thought this whole thing was going to be about sandwiches. I feel shamed.
Oh, it is. No, that was the pre-show. Didn't record any of that. This is
Right.
now we're going to get into the sandwich
You
talk.
didn't even tape any of that.
No, we didn't. No, live from
Okay.
Miami, the sandwich show. Wouldn't that be interesting? A sandwich show. Do you think
I would.
You know,
I'm your first guest if you do.
It'd be hilarious. I would have like triple the listeners just talking about sandwiches, and I'd be like, "No, people, don't listen to this show. You shouldn't listen." People just want to hear about it. But you know, it's like watching a food show on YouTube. It's cool until it starts making you really hungry. And you're like, never mind.
That's how I feel about like diners, drive-ins, and dives.
Yeah. Like I just recently found this guy. He's like Fisherman Life or something. He goes and he catches like fish straight from off the coast of California or something.
Yeah.
And like cuts it up and grills it right there, you know, shoreside, and has lunch. Just had some fish tacos last night. I was like, damn, I gotta unsubscribe from this guy, or at least just not see him as much.
That's your next podcast.
Yeah, a fish podcast. I know nothing about it, people, but we're gonna eat good food.
Yeah,
that'd be great. Yeah, man. So all this stuff is happening, and now you're doing your thing. Like, here's a question: if you could go back in time, in a time machine, which I may or may not have in Nashville, New Hampshire.
Okay.
And go back and advise yourself. Maybe, you know, beginning of your career, you just got out of college. What would you tell yourself? You've done a lot of things. You've seen a lot of things. Any kind of advice you would give yourself?
So just have as many experiences as possible and don't turn your nose to anything. Just being more open, probably. Like, I think I've come into my own a lot more over the last probably 5-6 years, something like that, where I would say I care less about what people think or like what is perceived, as long as I think I'm going in the right direction for myself. You know, a lot of people might not have taken that UPS store experience or thought it was beneath them. And I don't really remember like what I thought about it at the time. I probably hated it.
Probably.
Currently now though, like thinking back to some of that stuff and like dealing with customers and people, like, yeah, probably without me knowing it, set me up for success in future situations. So
totally.
yeah, I would just be say openness to anything. People should be talking to as many people as possible. And the biggest thing I tell myself is probably, just because I felt like I missed an opportunity to start earlier, is start building your network, if you haven't already, from day one, as early as possible.
How do we do that? It's so critical, but how do you practically do that?
It's two ways. You've got to, you can't fake it, you know, like we talked about earlier. Like, you have to want to grow your network and be willing to help with getting nothing in return. I think that's the biggest thing. Like, if you go in saying like, I want to network with this person or get to know this person because they could become a client, that can be your end game, but you can't force that. I'm not saying go, you know, talk to 1,000, you know, random people, but in your field, like if you're in marketing and you want to talk to VPs of marketing, be realistic. You're not going to, you know, they've got 100 vendors hitting them up daily probably, and you're not, you know, they don't know you, so you have to get to know them. So I would say networking events, and just putting yourself out there more. Like, one thing I haven't done a ton of that I've been playing around with is, you know, Instagram Live or just video on LinkedIn, you know, little tidbits and stuff. And it's a weird thing putting yourself out there. But you have to, and that I think is where like the cream rises to the top with a lot of, you know, people in success. Personal branding is bigger than ever, and I wish I had started years before I had.
Start that sooner. That's a good call. Do you know BombBomb? Have you heard of that?
I don't think
it's like
so.
a video app. You should check it out. Literally the word bomb twice.com. I don't know where that name came. I think I should know where that name came from, but I was chatting with Ethan Butte from BombBomb. He's their evangelist, and you should check this out because you can send these emails. You hit a little button and just record like a 10-second video or like a minute video to send along with people. They can see you, they can trust you more, especially these days. But I had asked them the same questions. I'm like, if I send a video to people, are they going to think I'm stupid? Like, are they going to think I'm an idiot?
We have our
Yeah.
document signing software that we use has a feature where when you send it, you can record like a live video of you being like,
Really?
hey,
In the document signing?
so we send it, I upload the PDF and then
Yeah.
I put who I want to send it to. And I can write a note or I can send a video with it. So when they get the email, I think it would be in the email of like, hey, here's your document, please sign. And I can't decide like what I would, if it's an opportunity to be like funny or, I don't know what I would say. Like, hey, just wanted to let you know, like, here's your proposal, even though it says it's your proposal. But yeah, we've played around with that. We just haven't done it yet.
Huh. Um, I like it. And I think it goes to your point, like build trust sooner than later, right? Don't wait on your network. Don't wait for your network to when you need it. Like, I love you said earlier, like help people out. Be there to meet people, pick the right people, but then try to help them. How can I help you? Can't be about you. Same thing in your social game, right? You can't just, hey, the world must retweet me. Like, no one
Right.
cares. To your very first point you made at the very beginning, no one gives a shit. So you got to go out there and care about other people. I think there's a lot of people trying to get your attention, but there's not a lot of people, who are trying to give attention. So give attention to people. Make them feel good. Help them out.
I agree.
Yeah, I like it, man. So what's up? You have any time for fun these days? I mean, we're kind of all quarantined. What do you do when you're not crushing your sales and marketing game?
Trying to keep busy and keep myself mentally and physically sane. During these times, my day is trying to work out as much as possible, cooking a good bit, started some Netflix shows, trying to not have the TV on during the day. And
have you done that Tiger King thing?
I have done the Tiger King thing.
Have you? I'm a laggard, right? So I kind of am behind the populist curve, and sometimes I reject the curve outright, like the New Kids on the Block.
I never watched Game of Thrones.
What?
So, yeah.
Okay, that's an outrage.
I couldn't get into it. I don't know. It's bizarre.
Did you watch like one? You're like, not cool. It was just.
I watched at the beginning. I watched like 1 or 2 episodes, and then it was this. I need to probably start it. I was the same with Lost, and then Lost was like the greatest show of all time.
See, that's how I was. Like, I got married, and I hadn't seen Lost. They were on. I think they were on. They're filming their final season when my wife and I were like, maybe you too.
I watched before. I never watched it, and then I started before the last season.
Yeah, like it was like, oh, it's ending. We're like, should we check this out? Like, I don't know. Is this? Man, people think it's cool, the best. We're like, let's watch. We're like, oh shit, it's actually really good.
Next thing you know, a polar bear is running through the woods,
and you're like, oh, it's a mystical island. That happens. You know, it's funny we didn't reject that. We're like, you can't have a polar bear in an island because we saw it happen. It must have happened. You know.
Yeah. No, Tiger King is absurd. It's worth the watch. Very entertaining.
What would you rate that if you had to grade that? And are you recommending that I watch that?
Yeah, 100%. I give it it depends on what you're into. I like absurd stuff, and the characters on this show are like, they're so absurd they have to be made up, but they're real apparently. So
they're real because it's a documentary apparently, right?
Yeah, they are. He's who I want to be for Halloween. So. That tells you something.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I was thinking of being the coronavirus for Halloween. I don't know if that's too soon or not.
I think you have to put too soon on it, like so that there's like a disclaimer.
Oh, so good. Like a, hi, my name is too soon.
Yeah.
I thought I would be dressed as a bug drinking Corona.
I hope we're able to celebrate Halloween this year.
You know what? That would be great. It would be a great celebration to be able to celebrate about it. If we're still being wacky by Halloween, I won't be doing that costume.
My birthday's the end of July. I'm hoping I get to, I don't know, see a friend or family member.
What day?
July 20th.
20th. Okay. Interesting. Keep that in mind. I'm supposed to be going to Tanzania on the 27th.
Oh boy, of July?
Climbed Kilimanjaro, but like.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Has it been canceled yet?
Well, no.
No.
They haven't canceled it, but I don't know. Like, I don't know if.
When were you going to tell that fun fact? You're just casually climbing Kilimanjaro?
Yeah. Hey, what's up? Humble brag.
Yeah, seriously.
Well, I haven't climbed it yet. But now my training's a little off too. I went out with a backpack and had like 30 pounds in it just to get some training on. But yeah, man, like, I don't know. July might be too soon, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm not worried per se, but like, I don't want to freak the family out, and I don't want to have it like
Wonder
come
I
across.
wonder what the travel will be like by then too. Traveling
Yeah.
over there.
I mean, I could just cancel the flight. Delta's cool with it. But, like, I don't know. I mean, is that irresponsible or is that, like, like socially irresponsible? Like, the world is kind of struggling with a challenge and you're just going to go fly off to Tanzania? Or is that, like, don't let the virus win. Keep on with your life, support local business. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Tough call.
I think that answer today will be much different from when you get closer
Yeah.
to your trip to make that. Who knows? Maybe you
Agreed.
won't have to make the trip. Maybe they'll just tell you, yeah, it's completely fine. But I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great. But not that, like, the day they say everything's fine, everyone come out of your houses. I think I'll wait for day 2.
I was talking to my friend yesterday. I was like, how does this end? Is there like a big bell and then they like stagger it based on like your last name? Or seriously, I really thought about that. Like,
That's
if you're
a
A
great
through
question.
G, like you're allowed outside,
Yeah.
everybody else wait a week. I don't know.
How do you end it? And then my thought was like the social pressures are already there where people hate on people. They have no idea who they are or why they're out, but you're like, oh, that's disgusting. They had a party the other day. Maybe it's good pressure. I don't know. But I could see even though they've said you can all leave, I could see social pressure people being like, yeah, but you could stay in your home for like another week and save more people's lives. Like when do you ever leave if you're going to save lives? The longer you stay isolated, you just never leave.
I agree with a lot of the social pressure only because I want this to end as quickly as possible. And
Agreed.
It's like
Agreed.
if everybody
Totally.
acting like a maniac for a shorter period of time does that, then I think that's the socially responsible thing.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah. Hit it hard, go crazy, but then get back to everything quickly. So jobs are good, families are good, people are still healthy. We just need we just need to flatten that curve. But like, it's funny because you don't really hear too much about where the curve's at now. You see some charts. I don't know. There's a lot of fear and uncertainty.
I read from 538, Nate Silver, who I trust with my data. Yesterday or the other day, they put out an interesting article about just how difficult it is to model and predict this type of stuff because the data is so bad currently and it's all over the place. They just don't have, you're making assumptions and extrapolations based on raw stuff that you don't even know because they're if tests were more readily available. But I don't know, hopefully I don't know, as few sicknesses and deaths as possible and we get back to relative normalcy as soon as possible.
I was seeing like June and July from some of the studies I've seen. To your point, no one really knows, but it'd be helpful to have a thing. But if we can knock it out, that'd be fantastic. Get back. You need your birthday, man.
You need Kilimanjaro.
I do. I really do. Do you know they actually speak? All the names from Lion King are like, and even that Hakuna Matata. That's a real song they sing. They actually sing that.
Is it?
Yeah, the guides sing that. It doesn't sound the same. It sounds a little different, but they actually sing a song called Hakuna Matata. Wow. It means what you think it means. No worries.
Learn something new every day.
Yeah,
this has been the most enlightening part of this whole process.
It is for everyone else too. They just fast forward through all the knowledge. Let's get to the fun part where
just get to the end credits.
Out. Yeah, get some feedback. Yeah, can you please just not teach us any more marketing? We just want to hang out. Like, oh, cool. But no, I think it's fun because that way you feel like you've learned something, accomplished something, but also can just relax too at the end. But yeah, hey, feedback people. Casey at CheshireImpact.com. Hit me up. Casey at CheshireImpact.com. For the 9 million people listening to this right now. So, hey, man, where can people, speaking of my email address, where can people connect with you? Throw some links, some social platforms out. Where do you want people to hit you up?
I would say LinkedIn is usually a good spot. Daniel Weiner. And then, if somebody wants to email me, Danny, DANNY at vehiclemedia.com.
Nice. And if you do Twitter game too? Yeah, Twitter and LinkedIn.
I consume Twitter. I don't post a lot anymore. I've been doing, I'm on I've got a message board over there. Day 23 every morning I post a Corona or quarantine relevant lyric song on Instagram.
No shit. That's
Daniel
cool.
Weiner. So feel free to go check that out as well for some feel good.
Bro, your Twitter is locked. What are you doing?
I stopped tweeting.
Oh, so you lock it so that people don't know you stopped tweeting?
Basically, yeah.
That's actually smart. Okay, I take it back. That's actually smart. That way people aren't like, oh, look at you. But still, though, like the lock, Twitter's supposed to be public and open.
I doubled down on LinkedIn. I post a ton of content.
Honestly, that's smart, though. I mean, LinkedIn is where professionals are at.
Twitter, honestly, I think Twitter is the greatest social network there is. The purest form of social media and the smartest, wittiest, where I get most of my news to this day. So,
is that sarcasm? Like,
no, I get a majority of my news from Twitter.
Really?
Yeah.
So you are a consumer. You're not just like, you consume from Twitter.
I feel like I broke the news of Kobe Bryant dying to a majority of people I knew based on I was lucky to log on at the right time, and I saw a tweet that like they were reporting that from TMZ. It was posted like 6 seconds ago, and it still wasn't online or anything like that. Which goes to show you, because I remember like calling 2 of my friends and they were like, I'm Googling it, like nothing is coming up. I was like, dude, I'm telling you, like TMZ is like an actual reputable news source. Like you don't mess with that. And yeah.
Huh. Yeah. The trending things do kind of highlight like what's going on right now before it happens. It's crazy. It's crazy like that. Oh, that's funny. We were just laughing like Zoom made it all the way through. And then froze up a little bit on us. I'm not sure if it's the Wi-Fi or Zoom, but God bless them for keeping their networks running. This kind of is keeping me sane, at least in my basement.
Keeping my social life up as well.
I'm sure, right? Yeah. Have you done any of those things where you're like drinking up or cheersing people?
Yeah, I've done some happy hours with friends, and then I'm on the board for AMA down here, Atlanta Interactive Marketing Association. We've got we've got one this Thursday, I think it is. So.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I got to get looped in on more of that. I ended up meeting up with someone last night off of Slack. I was like, hey, you want to hop on Zoom? Just like pour your drink and hop on Zoom. And a couple of people from one of the communities I'm in on Slack was like, yeah, why not? Nice. Just kind of doing
good to see some faces and hear some voices versus texting and all that.
Right. There's still something better about in person, but it's better than nothing, right? It's better than just a phone call.
Yeah, I agree.
So. Well, hey, man, this has been cool. This has been really cool. I've been having fun here. Thank you so much for coming on here.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me.
For those listening, if you learned something, and I know you did because I got a page and a half of notes over here. A lot of things, expectations, assumptions, trust, care, a lot of things going on over here. If you learned something, share this episode with someone else. Be a thought leader to one person, 2, 94, 28. 1,004 people. Like, get the information to them. Put them on LinkedIn. Share, but not just put it on LinkedIn. Share your takeaway from it. That way you're adding your color, your flavor to it, and you're getting it out there. And yeah, man, this has been great, dude. Thanks again for coming on here.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Stay safe.
All right, guys. Well, hey, this has been the Hardcore Marketing Show. We will catch you all next time.
All right. A big thank you to today's sponsors. Cheshire Impact, helping marketers and sales win, maximizing the use of Pardot and Salesforce. And a big thank you to Qualified.com, the #1 live chat and chatbot platform for Salesforce and Pardot. Remember the giveaway. If you have Salesforce Pardot and you want a free copy of my book, Marketing Automation Unleashed, then you go over to Qualified.com, engage in a chat, do a demo, and tell them that Casey sent you, and that book will be on its way to your door. All right. We'll see you all in the next one.